Quilts are not what they used to be in Grandma's day, and here to tell us about a big quilt show that's coming up, I have Lynn Moore and Donna Hamilton. I'm so glad you brought this stuff in. It is mind-blowing.
Well,
wow.
Thanks for having us.
Who doesn't like quilts? I mean, come on, what's not to like? So tell me about the show that you've got coming up. Start with you, Lynn.
This show has been 5 years in the making, and we are all enthusiastic quilters, and we'd like to showcase it, and we would like to share our work with the community at large.
You know, it seems that quilting just gets better and better. Just when you think you've seen everything there is to see, somebody comes up with something that is just, wow, who would have thought to do that and call it a quilt? What are some of the things you like about quilting?
I love everything about quilting, and there's something there for everyone, and it covers all different kinds of angles. If you want to approach it from math, it's great. If you hate math, you don't have to use math at all. And there's computers, there's fabric, fabric is like painting. It's very inspirational and very artistic.
So it's creative and it's precise, and there's discipline involved because
and there's also abstract, and you can do whatever you want in it as well.
There's nothing wrong. There's no wrong.
There are no quilt police, as we say. There are no quilt police. If you do it and you make it into a quilt, it is a quilt.
It is a quilt. Quilts go back a long way. Do you get into the history of quilt making?
When we first learn to quilt, we are taught some of the rules and how long it has been going on. It's been going on for, I think, since the beginning of man. We have always taken whatever materials we have and put them together, sewn them together in whatever fashion we could to make a covering, hence a quilt.
But originally they were using them when you had soldiers walking around with all that metal on them to protect themselves. They kind of wanted an interface between the metal and their skin, and thus was the first quilt.
I didn't
those
know
were
that.
quilts too. Yes, I mean there are quilts that go back to, they found them in tombs.
Really? Well, I guess
they're really, really long time.
Any sort of woven fabric, quilting would have been an offshoot from that. Something I heard was during the Civil War with the Underground Railroad, that quilts were hung over clotheslines as signals, and there was a way of passing messages by the patterns.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all heard that story, that there's even books on those patterns called the Underground Railroad. Sometimes people will dispute that and call it a myth, and I don't really mind if they call it a myth. It may well be, but certainly it has a lovely story to it.
It does. And so quilts were, well, protection from armor, but also warmth. This was,
that's right.
This is what, back in the day before central heating, and when people first started settling European settlements in Canada, this is what we used to stay warm, were quilts.
Women even wore quilted petticoats.
Quilted petticoats.
Under your garment as a layer of warmth.
Whoa. And I've also heard if you get an old quilt, is maybe take it apart, carefully take it apart. There might be another quilt underneath that was used as the batting for the new quilt.
That's right.
Thrifty.
Thrifty.
Don't waste anything.
Absolutely.
Don't waste anything.
And that was the beauty of quilts. It was that there was no waste. If you had something that you have worn out, but some parts of it were still good, got made into a quilt. So I think they called them crazy quilts at one time.
They're heavily embellished with embroidery and used as, I believe, more of a decorative item, but certainly an old wool coat is often made into a quilt. Your old summer dresses could be made into a quilt. The leftover pieces, once your mother made a dress, could be used to make a quilt.
And back in the day when they used to make their own linens and stuff, they would actually make their quilts from that. If they couldn't go out to the local quilt shop because they didn't have any.
For a period of time, flour and grain manufacturers produced bags that could be used, and so it to make a quilt. So they would purposely make their flour sacks or seed bags with a pretty pattern on it, knowing that once you finished using that contents, you would then have that fabric to be able to make it into a quilt or a garment. This was using and reusing.
And that's not that far back, because my mother used to use those to make my play clothes when I was a little
Yeah.
kid. That used those bags. So yes, I
That was
read.
yesterday, right?
It was just yesterday, of course.
it was
Yes.
that's right.
Oh yeah, I like to think that.
But we forget that, you know, and then in the current vernacular of reduce, reuse, recycling, this is not new. People
You're
have
right,
been doing
yeah.
this for a very long time, reducing waste and reusing items for a different purpose than the original intent.
I think what's changed, though, is become an artistic pursuit. And I've got to talk about that quilt behind you. That will be on display at your show.
That's right.
Because from here, it looks like someone's taken a paintbrush and painted. But no, that's all applique. That's all pieces of material of different colors put on another piece of material and stitched in. And then if you look at things like the clouds, the shadows that the trees cast, the rippling water, and that's all done. That is not painted or anything. That's scraps of material.
Fabric and thread.
Fabric and thread.
There's some thread painting in that, and as well as the applique. Thread painting is when you actually use your sewing machine or your hand stitching to paint a picture, but with thread.
Oh.
And so that's part of that too, but you really have to see it up close. So everyone,
Yes.
I encourage you, come to the show just to see that.
It is worth it. We have been staring at it for a while here in the studio, and we keep seeing different things. It really is fabulous. And tell me what the inspiration was for this.
Well, we started it in 2016, and it was to celebrate Canada. We decided the Kingston Heirloom Quilters wanted to make a quilt for Canada. We had seen this, a quilt that Martha Brown had made, and it was a zodiac quilt, and it was circular. And we decided, why don't we do something entirely different and completely outside of our comfort zone and make a circular Canadian quilt.
And so it's all 10 provinces and the territories. The 3
That's
territories
correct.
all have their own panel, and then you put them together. And this is what quilting is now. It's an artistic. You stand back and say it's a painting. No, it's not. This is all done with material and thread. So, how many quilts would I be able to see when I come to your quilt show?
We have over 200 quilted items. So not all big quilts. There are
There's
small
89.
quilts.
There's 89,
89 large quilts.
large quilts.
And
yeah.
over 200 items quilted. Some of them are small quilts, baby quilts, like this one is a baby quilt. This is all hand quilted.
It has the tail is it?
Little tails.
Right. Yeah, it's beautiful. And then you have, what is that, like a contest or something?
It was a challenge.
A challenge,
The
okay.
presidents of the guilds, the 2 guilds involved, put out this challenge to take a common phrase and make a picture from that common phrase. Each person that participated had a different phrase. So
So can
Okay.
you tell us what is?
Oh, I was afraid you were going to do this. Now, this one, I'm going to say head in the clouds.
Star, gold star.
Really?
You got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that one. This
And so
one,
this one,
I don't know. I've been staring at it, and
I think it
it's a
had-
horse, and it's pulling a wagon, and it's music, and then there's the one trying to get on the wagon, and something
You're on the right
about
track.
yeah. Come paint your wagon. No,
no,
that's
it's
not
the
it.
getting on the wagon.
Falling off the wagon.
No, getting on the wagon.
Getting on the wagon.
Jumping on the wagon.
Jumping on the
Jumping
wagon.
on the bandwagon. Are you
Ju-
going
on
to jump on the
bandwagon.
bandwagon?
Jumping on the
So
bandwagon.
that was this one.
All right.
And those will be at the show. And the viewers are going to have their own little contest. There's no prizes, just your own bragging rights. These, as well as 15 others, will be on display.
That
And
is
we're
such
challenging
fun.
you to see if you can guess the phrase that goes with the quilt.
That is such fun. What
So
a good idea.
It was so much fun to do, and the talent involved and the different techniques involved, it was well worth it.
And the
Everyone had such a
imagination.
good time.
Oh, yes. Is this for people who are quilters, or is this for somebody who's, you know, I'm going to retire soon. I think I'd like to take up quilting, or I think my granddaughter would be good at quilting.
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Okay.
Even people who are not quilters and have no intention of ever being a quilter can enjoy the art form and enjoy looking at them.
And inspiration.
Inspiration.
with what- maybe they make something else.
And we do
some-
have a boutique, so you will be able to purchase handmade items from the guild that the members have made. Anything from coasters, table runners, quilts. Some of the large quilts in the show will be for sale. Not all of them, but some of them.
Okay.
And there are other quilts and quilted items in the boutique.
And there's items like bags too.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is gorgeous.
So you'll see all different kinds of things.
Right. And perfect time of year when you're looking for things to beach and, you know, carrying
That's
your
right.
stuff. That is gorgeous.
That's
so
right.
there's stuff like that too.
This
Yep.
is lovely.
No, absolutely.
Oh, this is, you have to see the other side of it.
So if somebody came to the show and their idea is they want to take up quilting, would they be able to buy materials there to get them started? Books
As a matter of fact,
As a matter of fact.
we have there'll be 10 vendors there, and they'll be selling their fabric and threads and patterns. So yeah, and other things too. We also have a scissor sharpener.
Oh,
was gonna
that's
say
a
the
great
scissor
and
sharpener.
that and the well, it looks like a pizza cutter.
It's a rotary
Yeah.
cutter.
No,
Get
it's a
your
pizza cutter for the fabric.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
Keep your fingers out of the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Why do I
Yes.
know that?
Yes.
But yes, to sharpen those. Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Will he be able to
Yeah.
sharpen those
Oh,
as
yeah.
well? Oh, that's good.
Yep, they sharpen blades.
And you can come. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can hang around. There's a place you can get lunch.
You can
Yes,
get,
there
You
is.
can get a bite to eat and a beverage,
And then go back and just enjoy.
and then shop in the boutique and enjoy. And we have a book room for those people who are wanting to learn. There will be a huge book room with resource books in it that you can purchase for a very good price.
Yeah.
And for $10, it sounds like a wonderful way to put in a day. And tell me, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
June 2nd to 4th, from starting at 10 a.m.
Okay, and it's at the
Kingston Royal Curling Club,
and that's out on Days
On
Road.
Days Road.
and
130 Days Road.
Perfect. It sounds wonderful.
Good
And
parking,
lots of
wheelchair
parking.
access,
Yes, has it all. Has
free
it all.
parking.
Free parking.
parking,
even.
yes, it is.
Free's always good. So thank you so much for bringing these in. It's just been a real treat talking to you. Thanks so much, and good luck with your show.
Well,
Thanks
thank
very
you, and I do
much.
hope you will. I hope you will come.
Yes.
I
All
think
right.
you will enjoy it.
I will.